Hey everybody, Blake with Texas Bee Supply here. So let's talk a little bit about burr comb. And burr comb, I'm going to call it comb that the bees put in places we don't want it to be. Now, the bees don't read the bee books. They don't always follow what we want them to do. And so sometimes they put honeycomb in places we don't want. And this hive is a good example of a hive that's done that. Oftentimes, it's our fault as beekeepers. We've done something wrong that has made them build comb in the wrong places. The ideal bee space is 3/8 of an inch. And if there's a space larger than 3/8 of an inch in a hive, the bees are going to add comb to it. So let's take a look at this hive. They've done something that's pretty common. They have added a sheet of comb, and it's my mistake. The reason they've done this is because this box is missing a frame. So they've drawn out this entire sheet of comb in this empty space right here where there should have been a frame. Now they can also do this if you don't push your frames tightly back together inside a hive. So every time you leave a beehive, you should be pushing the frames tightly back together in the brood nest. If you leave space between the frames, then the bees will actually widen those frames out with honeycomb. So every time you leave a beehive, you push the frames tightly back together and center the frames in the box so you've got an even small space on either side of the brood nest. I like to use 9 frames in a brood nest if I don't have a division board feeder. If I do have a division board feeder, then I typically run 8 frames pushed tightly up against that division board feeder. So when you have a situation like this, you want to remove this comb and then either start pushing your frames tightly back together and center them, or obviously in this case, put a frame back where there should be. So what I do is I just stand this box up on edge, give them some smoke, make sure they stay calm, and then I just very gently scrape this honeycomb off of that bottom bar. Now this comb, it's got honey in it, and so I'm going to set it aside about 20 feet away from the beehive and let them rob this honey out so it's not wasted, or you can take it into your house and eat it. We'll shake the bees off, and then you can melt this honeycomb down and use it. So I'm going to just set this aside, pretend that's 30 or 40 feet away, and then I'm going to finish scraping off this comb. And then there's some stuck down inside the box as well, so I'm going to gently scrape that off. Here we go. Shake the bees off. Then I'm going to take this frame. That would have been exciting. I'm going to put this frame in this blank spot. My frames are pushed tightly together up against the division board feeder. Problem solved. You're also going to see in a hive a lot of burr comb built up on the bottom bars and the top bars. I don't usually remove this. It's kind of the bee's ladder to get up into the second box. If it's excessive to the point where it's really hard to break the boxes apart when you need to remove them, then you can just gently scrape off some of that excess wax off the bottom and top bars. But in general, if it's not excessive, I leave it because the bees are usually just going to build it right back. Again, if it's really excessive, you can scrape it off, but in general, I leave it. Sometimes you'll see bees draw out excess honeycomb on a frame, and so you can actually have on the face of a frame a big sheet of kind of 2 sheets of honeycomb instead of 1. Same principle applies. I would shake the bees off that frame, and then I would use my hive tool and I would gently slice off that secondary sheet of honeycomb, shake the bees off, let them rob the honey out, and just make sure those frames are pushed tightly back together when you leave a box after inspection. So that's it. If you have any questions about burr comb, feel free to let us know and we'd be happy to help.